Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon is here, and we are doing NBA awards predictions, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year. We're not going to do like all NBA, but we have like a fun twist where I've also added a few categories as well that will be a little bit fun to talk about. So I'm excited to do this, but first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see is completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you doing? Want to give a real quick shout out, even though she doesn't listen or support any of my podcast endeavors. Happy 12th anniversary to my lovely wife, Ranny. We have now been married 12 years today with our anniversary. Known each other, we figured 20 years. So over half our lives, we have known each other.
See, like, these are the moments where it's lovely and beautiful, and congratulations to you and Ranny, and that's amazing. But I also want to stab you.
I know,
because
that's
if
why I
you
didn't
told
tell you.
me,
You can't cancel the episode now because we've already started and we are live, Sam. So you have no choice.
oh my God.
Because I know what you would have done.
Unbelievable.
If I would have told you it was our anniversary, you would have said, well, you're not recording today. And then you would have tried
Correct.
you would have tried to reschedule for tomorrow, and the Chiefs play tomorrow, and we have a JV football game. And then Tuesday I have to record the Pistons Pulse. And it's just honestly easier to record it today. And she does understand, even though that may seem crazy to people that are watching.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, Bryce is here. We're going to talk about awards. How was your weekend? Things were good. Things are nice.
Things
Going
are
well?
nice. The weather has been way too hot for October, so we're supposed to hit a cold spell tomorrow, which I am very much looking forward to.
It's beautiful. I'm not sure if you were aware. I believe you are, because you did a video over on the SUBSTACK, which we'll get to in a second. But this weekend was the NBA coming to Melbourne for the first time, coming to Australia, playing games here on the continent. And the Pelicans played United and Southeast Melbourne. I watched like very, very little Southeast Melbourne game, to be honest. But I went to the United game. It was really fun. Got to see Dash Daniels. Got to see Zion Williamson. I mean, we will talk about Zion later in this episode about awards, but I really can't emphasize enough to people. I have not seen Zion Williamson look this good in terms of like being in shape, like looking like somewhat slim by his standards, right? Like he looks like he is in genuinely great shape right now. I haven't seen him look this good probably since Duke, to be honest with you. It's kind of incredible. Like he has a little bit of the like twitch on some of the side steps back, like some of those like hop step side steps that he uses. He has like some of the first step back. He was really impressive. Like seeing him in person again. Like I haven't seen Zion in person for probably like 4 or 5 years. There's just nothing like him athletically that I've ever seen, just point blank. He is like a defensive end that you put on an NBA court, and he is the best athlete on the NBA court. It is crazy. It is absolutely crazy that he is able to play basketball and be as explosive as he is.
I will say I've watched both of those games in some capacity. Both of my watches were for individual players specifically and video stuff I was doing. Obviously, you mentioned the Dash Daniels breakdown I did for the Substack. Even the game against Southeast Melbourne, I was watching somebody else on the Pelicans, you know, with a keen eye on them. But Zion obviously catches your attention. And I will say, without like really, really watching him exclusively, he still flashed with all of the movement stuff you're talking about. I will say, Sam, I was easily distracted often by how poor the Pelicans defense looks like it's going to be. And
Yeah.
that kind of was overriding everything else that wasn't just the player I was watching. But I will agree with you again, without specifically watching everything from him. When I did watch him or he caught my eye, it was like, man, he is moving very fluid. He is moving very well.
Well, and here's what I would say to that, though, too. Like, yes, their defense looked really bad. I thought Yves Missy was disastrous on defense in that game. Like, I thought that their overall continuity defensively was not very good. A, it's preseason, but B, like, United has like a world class coach in Dean Vickerman. Like, I'm not sitting here saying Dean is, you know, just like some dude. Like, Dean is genuinely a truly great coach on the world scale. Like, he runs really creative, interesting things. I saw that Jordan Poole was like, man, they ran like a baseline out of bounds play that like I kind of went to Willie and was like, man, we should steal that. Like Dean Vickerman is genuinely an unbelievable basketball coach. He is so good. He gets such strong buy-in from his players. He's creative in terms of what he runs offensively. Like I think the world of what Dean does as a coach. So honestly, like I was going into the game and I was like, look, I know the one guy's an NBA coach, one guy's in the NBL is what it is. The NBL team has the coaching advantage, just point blank, is the reality of the situation.
They got New Orleans in like rotation all the time. And there were times where it seems like New Orleans was like all over the place and in fairness to the Pelicans, they were missing their best defender in Herb Jones. He wasn't playing. But like even in the United game, I find myself like, man, like and it's preseason, they're in Australia. This isn't some overriding thing. It just was, we talked about the Pelicans potentially not being great defensively. And so far through 2 preseason watch, it hasn't looked great. And that's against non-NBA competition, although there, is obvious respect for NBL teams and what they're doing, not just as players, but also as coaches.
The other thing that we should talk about just briefly is Dash Daniels.
Yeah.
Dash continues to look very impressive outside of the jumper. The jumper is something. We'll go with that.
That was way nicer than what I text you that it was. So that's fair. Let's keep it there.
Look, I wrote the draft guide profile on Dash over the weekend, at least like, the bones of it and everything. I think I wrote that the jumper is just like a total rewrite. Like a page 1 rewrite. Like he's gonna have to rebuild it almost entirely to me.
He airballed 2 clean looks in that game from 3 for those that didn't watch the game or haven't watched the video breakdown.
But and I sent you this point of comparison. Like he's obviously going to get compared to Dyson because they're defense first guards who grew up as guards, but more likely going to end up on the wing at the end of the day, right? The name that he reminds me of is not Dyson. He reminds me more of Lou Dort than Dyson. Like the way that he defends with physicality, the way that he kind of navigates screens, like sometimes he gets caught on screens. Sometimes he just kind of bullies his way through them. Dash is like 17 years old. And I mean, look, in person, it feels this way when I watch him. I'm sure you can see it on screen. He is strong as hell. Mm-hmm. He is like a tank at 17 years old already. And it feels very similar to like watching Lou Dort at, when he played for like Brookwood Elite, if memory serves, like on the AAU circuit and everything. Like it just feels somewhat similar to me. And then he goes to Arizona State. He's already 20 by the time he was at Arizona State. Lou, like he came in as like a bit of an older player. The way that Dash defends feels more in line with Lou Dort to me than it does Dyson, which is fine. Like, both of those guys made first team all defense like last year. They're both genuinely great defenders, but they get by in different ways stylistically. The other thing is just offensively, like Lou had touch, but was never a good shooter and then kind of worked his way into being a good shooter. Dash is like very professional from what I understand, like genuinely a great worker. I do wonder if there's something there where it was like, okay, both Lou and Dash like came up as guys who played a lot more on the ball, really had their struggles at the rim. Dash's numbers coming into this season have been quite poor at the rim. This year, as he's played more off the ball and gotten a chance to dive to the basket, and, you know, play a little bit more off the ball, get downhill a little bit more easily, attack closeouts, stampede cuts, different things, baseline cuts that he's been really good at, crashing the glass, coming from the weak side and everything. Like, it's been a little bit easier for him, I think. And it just is reminiscent when like Lou was like a terrible finisher at Arizona State because he had to self-create everything. Dash like can't really self-create at the rim, but if he gets an advantage, he's really effective at the rim and kind of showcases nice touch on like little floaters and things like that around the basket.
Yeah, I think you highlighted it on the Twitter and Blue Sky posts, kind of promoting the breakdown on the Substack. But I think two of the more he had three offensive possessions that really stood out to me. One, he used a ball screen going to his left, jumped off his left foot, a one leg, and then a nice touch with his right hand on the floater. And what we always talk about playing off 2 feet, and then he had another one where he stopped. I think he bumped Jeremiah Fears off of him, turned, and then like a little 1 foot Dirk-ish fadeaway. But my point was he was able to play on balance off 1 foot after taking contact in two very different play types. And I kind of liked seeing that body control. My favorite play of his was he got an advantage. I don't know if he attacked a closeout or what it was, but then he played through contact. And then on the drive, he put his left shoulder into the defender while he was taking his final steps.
Yeah.
And then use that contact to create separation and then extended with his right hand and finish. So you see some of those things. What I love the most about Dash on the offensive end is while he can't shoot, he knows where to be. Like one of his bad misses is a perfect lift to the wing on the weak side. Sometimes he errs on cutting when he should space. I think that's but in general, he's still a good cutter. Like he catches Trey Murphy ball watching, has a great baseline cut and finish. So I really like his game. I actually kind of am with you on the defensive side. I'm going to probably really hesitate to compare him to his brother defensively because I think that's what everybody will do. And I don't know he's the same type of defender. Dort is huge shoes because of the physicality that Dort plays with. But I think you're right, especially with the screen navigation. He kind of tries to navigate screens the same way that Lou tries to navigate screens. So which sometimes is okay and sometimes looks really bad. But he's very intriguing. He was not a player I was high on until these NBL games have started. And then I've definitely warmed up to him through a few watches here early in the season.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I was not wildly high on Dash coming into the year. And like I had him like in the 20 to 30 to like 35 range even. And I thought that like there was a chance he would be at Melbourne United again next season, honestly. Now I'm like a little bit more skeptical of that. Like I think that he's a really, really interesting player.
The other guy you text me about, Sam, is very interesting because I did not like Sergio last year. And the one game I watched.
Oh yeah, I made you watch Sergio Di Laria with Valencia.
Ooh, you talk about a jump. That dude is fluid and smooth and like every note I had on him from last cycle was completely contradicted with my notes that I had from the game I watched here from a couple days ago.
Like last year, I didn't think that he was not fluid. I thought he wasn't strong enough to take advantage.
That might be true
of like what he had, but I did think he was pretty fluid. We'll do a little bit of a deeper thing on Di Laria at some point, but yeah, I mean, looks about as good as a like teenager can look. And I think he's still a teenager for a couple of months. Looks about as good as a teenager can look like non-Luka division in EuroLeague right now.
Yeah, it was. I text somebody about him, one of the closest friends I have in the NBA draft space, and he said the same thing to me. He was like, "Yeah, I watched him last year. Wasn't that impressive?" I was like, "No. You need to go watch. Like you need to turn."
I liked him a lot last year because I thought that the feel was really good. I thought he could shoot it. Like he drilled 40% from 3 last year. And I thought it was like a strength-based problem more than anything. And I thought that you could work with that. But like, look, he was like starting even for Valencia last year. And like, you could see that he had the brain and like the understanding of spacing and everything to me. We'll talk about Di Laria a little bit longer later on, but I think there's a chance that dude's like a lottery pick, to be honest with you.
The other reason I like watching Valencia is they have Amari Moore, who is a guy I really like from San Jose State. Good player.
Yeah, I was supposed to be here, but ended up he literally signed here with Southeast and then
Oh, I
ended
didn't know
up
that. Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
jumping over to EuroLeague. He was supposed to be here this year, but just didn't
Ah.
end up happening. Speaking of Bryce's breakdown of Dash Daniels, go over to the Substack. GameTheorySamV.substack.com. Go hit the subscribe button. It really is the best way that you can support the channel. Bryce has a couple of breakdowns of Dash Daniels already up on the channel. He also has a breakdown of Karim Lopez on the channel. I have 3 breakdowns of AJ Debinca. And then on Monday and Wednesday, I have 2 breakdowns of Michael Brown, point guard going to Louisville, who I thought should have won MVP of the Under-19 World Cup. 2 breakdowns of him coming on the channel over on Substack this week. So go hit the subscribe button over on the Substack. We appreciate all of you immensely that have done so already. It is $6 a month. You will get the best breakdowns in terms of video that you will find on the internet between Bryce and I promise you that. We dive deep into all of this stuff. So there's just nothing that you're going to find that's going to be better than what Bryce and I are doing. So please, please, please go hit the subscribe button over on the Substack, GameTheorySamV.substack.com. Let's get into what we're doing today, actually. Bryce, we're going to talk about awards picks for the 2025-26 NBA season. And I sent you off a list of like 13 things, and you were like, this is a 3-hour podcast, you dipshit. Like, what are we doing?
So
what are we thinking here?
Here's the thing. You said that it's 5:30, 6:30 in the morning. I just get done with my workout. I'm feeling good. I got some work to do before the wife wakes up and the kids wake up. But I'm like, okay, some days are a little busy. We have our football meetings, I podcast, but it's good. It's all good. I want to watch the Lakers Warriors game tonight. And you send me this list, and I just keep reading it, and there's more. And as I said, Sam, God love you. This is a 3. Here's the other thing. You had also offered GMAC to be on with us. And so that was the combination of, okay, there's like 13 things on this list, and GMAC is going to be on this list. There's no, and your defense, this is the best part, Sam. Your defense was, well, I kept us moving along well in the conference over-unders. Sam, we spent 2 hours and 45 minutes on the Eastern Conference over-unders. That was not in defense of, hey, I kept us moving along well. So you condensed it to 10, and GMAC wasn't able to join us. We might get out in 2 hours and 15.
I think we will get out in under 2 is my
Okay.
take. So before we get into all of this, I'm really excited for the NBA season. Like,
oh, man.
I am thrilled for this. I think it's going to be so good. The categories we're going to go into: MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, non-Cooper Flagg Rookie of the Year, because I think that, it just is what it is with Cooper. Most Improved Player, Executive of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year. First time All NBA players, which I went back through and looked at the players that have made All NBA. Every year since 2003, 2004, there have been at least 2 players that make All NBA that have never made All NBA previously. In a lot of years, recently especially, it's 3, but I decided to go with 2. The question I have for you, trivia-wise, Bryce, in 2002, 2003, there was only 1 player that was a first-time All-NBA player. Do you know who that player was?
2002, 2003.
So the year before LeBron debuted.
Okay. No. I mean, we're talking, I'm just trying to get bearing. This is Duncan, Garnett, Shaq, Kobe, Dirk, Iverson. Okay.
This player has a son that has played college basketball for the last 6 years.
Will he be playing college basketball this year?
I think he somehow still has 1 more year of eligibility. No, there's no way. There's no way he has one more year of eligibility. It'd be insane if this guy has one more year. So I'm going to say no, does not have one more year.
Well, then I think I know who. So Jamal Mashburn Jr. Is that so? Is it Jamal Mashburn?
It's Jamal Mashburn. Yeah.
Amazing.
Jamal Mashburn. The last time only one new fresh player made the All NBA team in a season.
Interesting.
So that's how long you have to go back since we haven't had at least two players that have never made All NBA make All NBA. So, you know, this guy literally has had a son graduate college after 5 years of playing college basketball since the last time that this did not happen. So I think it's worth kind of digging into that. We're going to do best player traded in season as a category. And I might ask you, you know, one or two others, but probably not. I think we're going to see how long we go here. So, okay. Let's jump in and do MVP.
Okay.
It's probably the conversation I'm most excited to have because I think that there are quite a few candidates. I would say upwards of like 5 to 6 that I can see like realistically getting into the conversation.
So obviously we're going to talk about I think here's my question to you, because I was listening to a podcast this weekend and they talked about the idea of a big four and then who can break. Do you think there's a big four going into the season of Luka, Jokic, Giannis, and SGA? Or do you think that's unfair to say a big four and not include Wemby, Ant, Brunson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
I would include Wemby and Ant.
Okay,
in this combo.
Okay, then real quick, is there a tier and then a second tier that includes Wemby and Ant, or is it all 6 of these guys? Like, are Jokic and SGA a half tier above, or are you thinking like all 6 of these guys are somewhat in the same tier?
I think that in terms of how good they are as players, because that's a different conversation than MVP, unfortunately.
Sure.
I think with how good they are as players, I think there are 3 and 3 probably. I think that there's going to be like real narrative behind Luka. I think that Jokic and Shea, their teams are just going to be so good that it doesn't matter. They're just automatically going to be in the conversation as long as they're healthy. And then I think the next group is Giannis, not because Giannis like isn't the best player in the world. I think there's a real case that he is. It's just that I don't know that team wins more than like 40 games, and it's just really hard to win MVP if you win 40 games. And then you've also got Ant, who just might be like a step below these guys. Maybe not. Maybe he's improved. He always takes these leaps coming into the year. And then maybe Victor, who just has like some questions, right? Although watching him just like completely bowl over somebody in transition in their first like preseason scrimmage was really fun.
Yeah.
Does that sound right to you? Do you feel like some type of way about that?
No, I mean, I think I understand what you're saying. And I think MVP is definitely a different conversation, because if you just came on here and said, who's the best player in the world, I would say Nikola Jokic and we'll move on. And whenever it comes time and you ask me who my pick for MVP is, spoiler, it's not going to be Nikola Jokic. I think I do believe that those 4 guys are kind of the front runners right now, with Wemby and Ant being the next 2 most obvious names, with a few other like truly dark horse names in the East. Just because I think the East is so open that what if Atlanta ends up the 1 seed somehow, and like this thing just really comes together? Can Trey make a push? I don't know if for NBA, maybe it's just like all, an all NBA team, but and now we're already getting to the weeds too far. But I think it's those 4. And then I think Wemby and Ant are definitely the next 2 names that immediately come to mind.
That's kind of an amazing question. Like, if Atlanta finishes as the 1 seed, is Trey Young in the MVP conversation? My guess is no, because Jalen Brunson like was still only on the outskirts of the MVP conversation when the Knicks were like the 2 seed, right? So
Donovan Mitchell, same thing last year.
Yeah, but like maybe Trey's on like the first team All NBA
Yeah, no, that's
conversation at that point.
and I think it depends a little bit, like, is it because Jalen Johnson is averaging 25 and, 10 rebounds and 6 assists, or something like that? Or is it because Trey's averaging 13 assists and is giving the best effort we've ever seen on the defensive end? Like, I think Brunson, Cade, and Trey are Eastern Conference players who could get their names in the mix just because they're in the Eastern Conference and their teams could end up in the top 2 or 3, right? Because, like, there's just not very many guys that are going to be in the MVP conversation if your team isn't in the top tier of the conference. And that's a conversation with Wemby. Like, the Spurs are going to be better. I think we both believe that, but I think we both took the under on their over under. If they only win 42 games or whatever, can he really be in the MVP conversation? Is that enough? Or does he need to have them in the top 4 of the West? I think that's Ant's thing. If Ant gets Minnesota into the top 2 above the Nuggets and or the Thunder, that really pushes his MVP narrative. Or the same with Giannis, Sam. Like, if Giannis has Milwaukee in the top 3 in the East, that should give him a lot of love.
If Giannis forces this team to 50 wins, like, Giannis is absolutely in the MVP conversation and, like, has a real case to win MVP, would be my guess. I think that if Wemby pushes the Spurs into the top 4 of the West, I think that he'll get a very significant push.
Yep,
if they win like 55 games, I can see that for Ant, right? That's why, like, I think that those guys are in the conversation, maybe even a little bit more than guys like Brunson, guys like, like Paulo, like
Paulo. Yeah, I should have mentioned.
Will get there.
I should have mentioned Paulo, but is there a world where Orlando is the number 1 seed and he has a full season of? He's not going to put up his playoff numbers, but what if he shoots really well from 3? I mean,
but Bryce, here's my question: what if he does? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you've like watched like some of their early stuff, but it feels like to me there's just more space than what he's ever had before, even already. So you see him with like Desmond Bain on the weak side, like lifting to the wing from the corner. And it's like, oh shit, his man now can't just sit in the lane, which is letting Paulo like drive to the rim. You know what I mean? Instead of settling for mid-range jumpers. So look, I don't know. Maybe, like, I think no, but I can't sit here and like categorically rule it out.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned Paulo. One of the reasons I didn't, he's definitely a guy we're going to talk about a little bit later, for me anyway. But yeah, I just, when you look at where I think teams could finish, and again, that's why I mentioned Trey, is I just think all of these teams in the East with Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta, even Milwaukee, if those teams make a real push above New York and or Cleveland in some way, whatever the reason is, I think all of a sudden the best player on those teams gets involved in this conversation. And again, I still think if everybody was healthy, Sam, my guess is we are going to easily have a first team. We will rattle off like we did last year with 4 names: Luka, Jokic, SGA, Giannis. And then the conversation will probably be around who's the 5th guy, more than if the 5th guy is in with those 4. But you never know. The likelihood is one of those guys doesn't hit 65 games. If the Milwaukee season goes just awful, maybe Giannis isn't as much in the conversation. Maybe the Lakers season goes awful, right? We've talked about the paths to them going to their under and this being a disaster. But assuming health and everything else right now, I think those 4 guys are in a tier for me. And then it's a conversation around these other guys of who can be the 5th guy, the 6th guy to be in the mix.
Okay. So I will ask you now. You said it's not Jokic. Who is your choice for MVP?
I'm going to go Luka. Listen, I want to be very clear. I think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. If I had to start, if you did the fantasy, whatever stuff, I think SGA is incredible. I do wonder, I'm fascinated to see how fans and media and stuff handle the Thunder. I have personally seen how a professional sports team can go from loved to hated very quickly when they win too much and win too many awards. And there's already the foul baiting free throw stuff with SGA out there. I don't care. I don't, it's whatever. That's not me. I think SGA is up for a huge season. I'm just going to lean into the Luka's in great shape and he's motivated. I guess this is a little bit of a bet on DeAndre Ayton, which is a little bit scary, Sam, that DeAndre Ayton needs to be at his best for Luka to win this award. But I'm going to go Luka with, I think I would, if you asked me to rank it out, would probably go Jokic and then SGA would be my 1, 2, 3.
Luka's interesting. And I want to stop and pause on Luka because my immediate reaction going into the year was like that I was probably going to end up picking Luka to win MVP. And I didn't, I'll just like spoil it. I did not end up there.
Love it.
So the first question that I will ask you is simply, do you think the Lakers win enough games? I think that for Luka to be an MVP candidate with LeBron, with Austin Reeves, these guys that like are real talented, like top 50 guys in the league, right? LeBron, wherever you want to put LeBron, as well as some other high profile additions like Ayton and Smart. This team almost definitely has to win 50 games, I would say. It might have to be around like 52, 53, 54. Do you think that they can get there?
So, I mean, for what it's worth, I just pulled up my standings prediction, which has my over under. Their over under was 47.5, and I went over. I have them penciled in as the 5th seed in the West. But if you, so like, that's my question to you, I guess. My question back, Sam, would be, do you think they have to finish higher than the Thunder and or the Nuggets for him to win MVP over those teams? Because I don't, or over those players. I don't. I think the Thunder are universally looked as the better team. I think the Nuggets are universally looked at the better team going into the season. So I think if he wins 50 games, if that means they end up the 4 seed in the West, I think that would be enough from a team success stance for him to win it, as long as obviously he has to have the numbers and the efficiency and the defense and all of that as well. I don't think he has to finish with a better record than those guys for him to beat them in the MVP voting. I don't.
I don't think he has to finish.
Because if you tell me he has to
win
finish
the West,
higher, I don't think that he'll win it if he has to finish with a better record than both of them. Then I don't think he will win it.
Yeah, I don't think he has to win the West.
Okay.
Is what I would say. Like, I does he need to be within?
It's probably games,
10?
right?
Does he need to be within?
I think 10's too many. Because if they win
like
70
we think OKC, might win like 65 or 68 or whatever.
I mean, if they win 70 games like we threw out on the over-under episode, SGA is winning, right?
Maybe. Like, I think that they might just get looked at as like as a team and like his defensive
great depth. If Chet takes a step forward off it, like, could they end up with 3 all NBA guys but not the MVP? Is that the team? Is that what that team could end up being?
Could be, like, very possible. So like, how close does Luka have to be to them to win? Does he have to win 50, 55 at that point to get the bump over Shea?
Let's say they win 65, right? Like, let's just be very modest with where they're going to be. Oh, yeah. Like, can he win 50 and be 15 games behind and win it? That's interesting.
It's a legit question.
Yeah, it is. Might depend on how many games LeBron has played, right? And how good Ayton has or has not been.
So here's my next question to you. What do you think Luka's numbers look like if you think he's winning MVP?
20. I'm hesitating to say, I won't say 30. I'm going to say, I think 28, 8.5, like something like that, 8+ with engaged defense and efficient shooting, which, for the most part, like he's 35% from three on super high volume, gets to the free throw line. Like I think, which is similar to what he's averaged for his career. I just think they're going to win. And I think there's going to be a narrative with him being in LA with the Lakers. So maybe like 28, 9 and 9, 29, 9 and 9.
So Luka went 34, 9 and 10 in 2024.
Yeah.
And finished third, right? And led Dallas to 50 wins and the 5th seed in the West. Right around what we think the Lakers are, probably, right? Like probably like the 4 or 5 seed in the West if things like really break right. And he went 34, 9 and 10 and did not win.
Yeah, so he's got to average 30. So I'm wrong. I'm low there. He's got to average 30 plus.
Now, like, we can talk about just like the Lakers bump and the fact that they're going to be on national TV all the time, even in comparison to what Dallas was, and just be in the national consciousness constantly. And I do think that that makes a difference, unfortunately. Like it absolutely does. But so I don't know. Maybe this is where I'll just give my pick, right?
Yeah.
And we'll talk through it. I'm taking Jokic.
Sure.
After having the conversation that we did on, what was that? That would have been Thursday. I do genuinely, like, I'm not certain, I guess is what I would say, that Jokic did not put up the best offensive season like in history last year.
Yeah.
And defensively, it was a problem. Like, I did not love his defensive energy and intensity throughout the course of the year. They finished 22nd in defense. I thought there was a real reason why, like, he did not win MVP, and I was okay with it. I think they're probably going to be better on defense this year because I think Adelman has kind of figured some things out. It felt like, there may have been some coaching problems last year, let's go with, hence why they moved on from Michael Malone, unfortunately, in the middle of the season, near the end of the season, I guess. But Jokic last year went for 30, 13, and 10, shooting 58, 42, 80. His true shooting percentage was 15% above league average while averaging just about 30 points per game. And he averaged 10 assists per game. And we need to talk about the aesthetic style of it. Like, the way that he passes the ball is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And like, people can bring up the idea of like Wilt putting up 24, 24 and 8 on 29% true shooting percentage above league average. Guys, like, I'm sorry, the league is just deeper and better. I kind of think it's more impressive for Jokic to be doing what he does against similarly sized players than what Wilt was doing whenever he was going up against, like, when guys were bigger that in that era. There wasn't as much athleticism, let's go with. I think there's like a genuinely real case that what Jokic did last year was maybe the most impressive offensive season we have seen. And now you're adding in like guys that make sense with him. You're adding in Tim Hardaway Jr. You're adding in, Bruce Brown, who we know works well with Jokic already. Christian Brown gets another season in the starting lineup with Jokic. You're adding in Cam Johnson, who makes just as much sense as Michael Porter Jr. did offensively. I just don't know. Like, the spacing is still there. Like, it's all there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I can't fight back against a Nikola Jokic, vote for MVP or prediction for MVP because he, again, if you just ask me who's the best player in the world right now, I'm going to say Jokic. And I voted him for MVP last year, on this show. We had this conversation. We did the Shea versus Jokic thing, and the other thing, and this is a little bit, looking at Luka's games played, he's been really close multiple years to the 65 games. So his rookie year, he played 72. Next year, 61. And then he went 3 years in a row, 66, 65, 66, 70, and then only played 50 last year. And so when you talk about that 65 game played, where Jokic, 69 is the lowest he's played, and every other year has been 72 or more. a couple years of 80, 79. Like you can count on him, in terms of availability as well. So I will not push back on this whatsoever because of not only what I feel about Jokic as a player, but I also agree I'm very high on the summer they've had and the roster they've put around him that I think makes a lot of sense.
I think the roster just makes an absolute ton of sense around him. Look, I also kind of wonder, and this is where the narrative portion and trying to predict what the narratives are going to be like comes into play here, right? I kind of wonder if like last year people were just sick of voting for Jokic.
Sure.
And then this year, like people might just be sick of voting for Shea.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And I think Shea is going to have an unbelievable season. And I would have Shea at number 2 on my MVP list, like for sure right now. If you're making me like list them out, I would have Shea at number 2, no problems asked. But I just wonder if after the fight that it was last season, it ends up being more of a situation this year where it's like, oh no, it's definitely Jokic. Jokic is the best player in the league. Jokic is the guy. What are we doing here? Especially, I know that Oklahoma City won that series. I felt like Jokic like outplayed Shea in that series, right? Like, I don't know how you feel about that, but I felt like Jokic was the guy in that series, even more so than Shea. I mean, he averaged 28, 14, and only 6 assists. But I felt like he was the dominant force personally. So to me, I know in game 7, like they put the Caruso on him and Caruso just like really caused some problems and got super physical and everything. But I don't know, man. Like I think that we're in for another year just narratively where it's like, oh no, guys, like Jokic is the guy. And look, like I think Denver's going to win like 58 games or so. Like I think they're going to go absolutely nuts this year.
My other question, and this may not happen at all. Like this may be something that doesn't. So I guess maybe this is more of a question and you may have an answer, but I wonder if Shea takes a slight step back in usage or like, so I'm just looking at field goal attempts. J-Dub was at 17 a game last year. I don't know that goes up a whole lot, but Chet was only at 11. Like, is there some more shot attempts for a Chet? Is there some more on-ball usage for an AJ Mitchell?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know what Topic does. Like, is there just a little bit, instead of 34 minutes a game, does he only play 32? And instead of shooting 22 times a game, does he shoot 20 and a half times a game? And does he have the ball 5% less? And while none of those numbers are extreme, Sam, when you're talking about MVP and the like maybe that ends up making a difference. And I'm not saying it should, but just when you look at counting stats and all of those things, maybe Shea takes just a little bit, because this guy's coming off of one of the greatest individual seasons you can have in terms of MVP, finals MVP, NBA championship. I'm not saying he's not motivated. I'm just saying it may be like, hey, I'm really ready to play the long game, and let me give AJ a few more touches here. Let me give Kaysen a few more touches. Let me get Chet going a little bit more. And I just wonder if there's a little bit of that just brings the counting numbers down just a little bit. May not be. It's just something I've thought about.
I think I agree. Like, I think that Shea is probably not going to put up 33 points a game this year. And it has nothing to do with Shea. It has everything to do with just Oklahoma City continuing to be an absolute wagon and be dominant and like completely, win 65 to 70 games and be the title favorite again. Maybe he does, but like, I think it might be better for them if they're able to like, and like Daigneault loves to experiment a little bit in season too, is the other thing too. Like, he might get J-Dub like even more touches. He might even get guys like Topic and AJ Mitchell like a few more here and there, to the point where like maybe Shea, doesn't play quite as many minutes as what he did last season. Like he was up at 34 last year. I bet they would love to get him down to like 31 or 32. You know what I mean?
It's even easier to experiment whenever you are the finals champions, and especially if they get out to a hot start and build a lead in the Western Conference. And
Yeah.
it gets real easy to say, you know what, like, let's try this out. Let's try Shea off the ball a little bit more, just in case we run into a team that forces us into that in a playoff situation, or what, whatever, like Shea rolls an ankle and misses a game, so let's play J-Dub as the primary initiator. So like, I realize I'm throwing out some stuff here, but I just wonder if they're in that space where, again, it could be 5% less, but when we're talking about these top tier, because the Nuggets can't afford to do that, because if Jokic isn't the focal point and doing what he's doing, as much as we think they're improved, that's not something they can do. The Bucks can't do that with Giannis. The Lakers can't do that with Luka. The Spurs can't do that with on down the line. I think OKC has enough depth and everything else that they could experiment with it a little bit. Just an idea I've had in terms of the margins that these decisions get made on.
Well, and speaking of margins, right? I think Oklahoma City is just working with a greater margin for error than anybody else in the league right now. So like somebody asked in the comments, and it's not an unfair question, Shea's going to put up worse numbers just because, but Jokic fair. Has an actual backup for the first time in his career and his numbers won't be affected.
Fair point.
I don't think that like Denver has all that much wiggle room to play with. They have wiggle room to play with in terms of making the playoffs, but if they want to be a top seed, which I would imagine they do because of the home court advantage that comes with playing in Denver year over year, I think they don't really have that much wiggle room comparatively to somebody like OKC. They have less wiggle room than somebody like OKC. They're still going to have to play Jokic a significant number of minutes, even though Jonas is there now, because they need Jokic to run their offense like every single time down the court. Like he's an unbelievable basketball player. So yeah, I find it.
It's a fair point. It's a great point. I appreciate the point. I'm also not saying this is going to happen. It just, when you talk about this conversation and the finite differences between players at this elite level, it was just something I wondered. I'm not sitting here pounding the table saying, this is what OKC is going to do this year. I'm just saying, like, I wonder if this could end up happening coming off the year that he and they just had. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's right. Okay. So I would go Jokic 1, Shea 2. We haven't talked about Giannis. Like, should we talk about Giannis real quick?
I mean, I think he has like a crazy ceiling in terms of here's what can't happen. Eric, why name? I always say his last name wrong, and I don't mean
Eric
to be name because I know he does a great job for The Athletic. I was listening to him on The Athletic has done their series, preview of all the different teams. And he's like, I think this was it. He was talking about like, let's keep this same energy about this Bucks team not being good if they're a top 3 seed in the East. We can't all of a sudden they're a top 3 seed in the East and then be like, well, of course that, whatever, this is what we. So I think that's Giannis's biggest argument. He's going to put up numbers because he's Giannis. And if they win, then I think he absolutely can put himself in the conversation. My best guess is it's a Jokic, SGA, Luka 3-man debate. And then Giannis is always just like immediately put in as the 4th guy, kind of like the way Tatum was. Well, Tatum wasn't the 4th guy for everybody last year, but I think he'll be the 4th guy. And for most people, he'll end up being the 4th of 4.
I will say, if Giannis gets them to like 52, 53 wins, it's going to be a real conversation.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have carried them to that.
Yeah.
He is going to have dragged them to that number. Like with Kuzma, with the guard situation being what it is, no disrespect to guys like, Kevin Porter. I mean, maybe some disrespect there, but like Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins, etc.
Yeah.
Gary Trent, certainly no disrespect to Gary Trent, but like
Cole Anthony.
They have guys that have just been backups at this point in terms of their backcourt ceiling. We love AJ Green on this show.
Yeah.
Like we think AJ Green's like a real dude. But man, like if he drags them to 50 plus wins with that backcourt, I just, I don't know, man. Like that is, I think that in terms of the narrative, just point blank with what the narrative is,
Yeah. No, I
I
mean,
think that he has like the most room to like jump and spike in terms of the narrative.
I was trying to find the right word for it because I was going to say ceiling and like, no, that's stupid. They all have the exact same ceiling, which is winning the MVP. So I couldn't think of the right, I can't think of the right way to say it, but I think we're both trying to say the same thing in terms of, man, there's real opportunity if his team wins for it to look really, really impressive because he's going to get all of the credit. Like in OKC, like there's a chance that you could give credit to Chet and J-Dub and Dagnall and the depth. In in LA, it could be LeBron still in crazy. If, maybe Austin Reeves has a breakout season. I mean, I guess maybe Miles Turner or Kuzma has a bounce back season, but I feel like in Milwaukee, if they win 50 games, it's 100% of the credit to, like you said, Giannis is dragging them to 50 plus wins and a top 3 seed. And if he does that, he's going to be, I truly think he will be very much in the mix, not just like hey, this is the 4th of 4.
Yeah, and I don't want to diminish how good Giannis is at basketball either. Like Giannis is a freaking unbelievable basketball player too. Just like a truly incredible basketball player who is a super high level defender, who is a freight train in transition, who has improved drastically in terms of like passing and decision making and adding the mid-range game as well. I do worry a little bit that if teams feel like they don't have to defend the guards, like if Ryan Rollins reverts in terms of a shooter and Kevin Porter Jr., teams are like, no, we'd rather you shoot than Giannis get a shot at the rim. I wonder how easy it will be for Giannis to get shots at the rim, but they've brought in Miles Turner to be able to make it so that there's not bigs rotating at the rim now. It's still going to be, guards potentially rotating at the rim. And we know that Giannis can just go through those guys. So Giannis is unbelievable. I don't just want to say that it's like the narrative and that's the only reason why Giannis would be in this conversation. It's because Giannis is this incredible player. But yeah, I think that it's going to have to be like a big, he carries them to like 50 plus wins. And it's like it's not the same as when Russ, I mean, it's kind of similar to when Russ had KD leave and then, he ends up winning MVP because he puts up crazy numbers and leads them to like 48 wins or whatever he did. It's kind of similar because the team has just like kind of departed around Giannis, but yeah, I think that Giannis is just a better player than Russ ever was. So like, I don't want to diminish it to that either.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I think if you made me pick a top 3 right now, I would say going into the year, I would have Jokic 1, Shea 2, Luka 3, Giannis 4. I think Giannis has like incredible room for growth. And I think if you made me pick 5, I think I would go Ant over Wemby right now because I think that they're just going to win drastically more games at the end of the day. And I do wonder if that pushes him into the conversation. But to me, those are the 6. Do you have a 5 or a 6 here?
No, I'd have the same 6, just a slightly different order with, obviously, I went Luka, Jokic, Shea, Giannis. I think I'm with you that right now as it stands, I'd probably go Ant over Wemby. I don't think the Spurs are going to win enough games for him to be like in the MVP conversation, if we're talking about that specifically. And then like my long dark horse, like Brunson was a name, Cade was a name. Like I think Cade's going to put up silly numbers. I just don't know that they're going to win that many more games this year. And then Trey, as I, mentioned at the top, I don't think that those guys are really MVP, but some injuries, whatever, could they end up rounding out the first team all NBA? There are a few names in the East where those teams could finish top 2, top 3, best players on the top 2. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell, Paolo as well. I think are all in kind of a similar category depending on how their standings shake out and where their numbers end up.
Okay, we got a new sponsor today, Bryce. We got to shout out our friends over at Mizzen Main. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. Sure, they look sharp, but they're stiff, they're hot, they're high maintenance. That's going to make it hard to actually feel comfortable and feel like you're looking good. If you go to a wedding, if you go out to dinner with your wife, you can feel that like kind of stiffness, right? But that's why Mizzen Main is so great. It's why I'm such a fan of what they bring to the table. Mizzen Main has been around the podcast scene for a long time. First time sponsor here. We appreciate them for coming on. But having bought Mizzen Main before, it is just so comfortable. And it's really like, I don't love wearing other, classic menswear, whatever you want to call it, because Mizzen Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics. So it's effortless to look sharp and feel great. Mizzen Main actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago. And since then, they've perfected it with modern fabrics. Mizzen Main's shirts and pants look refined, yet they're stretchy, lightweight, moisture wicking, wrinkle resistant, and completely machine washable. There's no ironing or dry cleaning required. When you put their clothes on, you're just going to feel the difference instantly. Professional style that's actually comfortable, whether you're in the office, on the road, or even out on the golf course, which is a place that I absolutely will wear Mizzen Main products. Right now, Mizzen Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com. Promo code GAME20. That's Mizzen, spelled Mizzen, and Main, M-A-N, or M-A-I-N, my God. Mizzen and Main, MIZZENANDMAIN.com. Promo code GAME20 for 20% off. Mizzenandmain.com, promo code GAME20. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in select states. Shout out to our friends over at Mizzen and Main. Okay. Let's go to Defensive Player of the Year next, because I think this is just like a fairly quick conversation after we went a little bit longer than what we thought on MVP.
That was actually exactly how long I told you the MVP conversation was going to be for the record.
It was, and you nailed it. I said it would be 30, 25 minutes, 30 minutes or whatever, and you said 45, and you were dead on. Okay. Why is Victor Wembanyama the obvious pick for Defensive Player of the Year, Bryce? Let's start there and then kind of move past it and maybe consider other things.
Yeah, I mean, if he plays 65 games, he's obviously that's I think the biggest argument against it is that, like, if you're going to say he's not going to win it, I mean, at the end of the day, we both had him as our top defender on our top 20, 25 defenders list, whatever they ended up being, 25, I guess. And so if he plays 65, I think he's the most dominant defender, I think he's the most impactful defender in the NBA with his movement ability, his size, his length, the way he protects the rim, the way he changes the shot process and decision makings of anybody who enters the lane against him, the way he can make up for his teammates. It just, at the end of the day, that's who he is. That's what he does. And so if he plays 65, I just don't see where, as things sit right now, I can predict anybody else to win it.
I am very glad that you brought up the idea of him just changing. This is the easiest way that I phrase it all the time. It's just that he changes the geometry of basketball.
Yep.
Is the reality, right? Like that's what it is. He completely changes the way that you have to look at basketball at the end of the day, because he's so long on the interior and then also has such incredible ability to recover as well, where, like, we've talked about this before on the show, Wemby was not this like incredibly polished positional defender, right?
Sure.
That's the reality. Like, he does kind of get himself off of his lines from time to time. It's just that he has so much margin for error that he gets back. And then, oh, by the way, when he's in help situations, I mean, the dude just flies around and flies back into those spots and makes it absolutely miserable for opposing teams whenever they think they have a clean spot to be able to get to the basket. They just don't, right? He just takes up so much space in the lane that it's really difficult to even figure out like driving lanes to be able to find drive and kicks. I feel like a lot of the time, like we talk about how big and how long Chet is and how Chet moves and everything. Chet is like 7'1" with a 7'6" wingspan. Wemby is 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan. Like that's like 9 inches of difference in terms of like where he's at. And I guess that like maybe Wemby's neck is longer, so you could say like 6 or 7 inches of difference, but I don't know. I mean, you feel that like that's the difference between, you know, Chet. The difference between Wemby and Chet lengthwise is probably the difference between like Chet and like Kelly Olynyk or something. You know what I mean? And you just know like when you're on the court and you talk to guys, like there's just a real, I don't want to say fear, but there's an awareness of where he is kind of at all times on the court. And that's what makes it so hard.
So the one thing I've been wondering, I don't think this is ultimately going to mess up him like DPOY stuff, but we both like him guarding at the point of attack more than what they tried early in his career, where there's a little bit more like, we know he can be the off-ball roamer. My question is, like, I've heard a lot of people like, oh, he can play with Kelly Olynyk. Oh, he can play with Luke Cornett. I don't disagree, but then is that going to move him into more of that off-ball defensive roamer role that we didn't love quite as much? I just don't think he's quite as impactful as when he's always involved in the initial action, and then guys are trying to make decisions, you know, with him in drop coverage, and he's taking away all of that stuff. Do you think those guys, do you think he's going to play with another big that much? And do you think it does mean we'll see him a little bit in a different defensive role than maybe what, at least for me, I shouldn't speak for you, want to see him in the majority of his possessions?
I think it's a real question, is what I would say. I think it's like a very, very real question as to whether or not that's the case. But I also wonder if it allows him to put up like even bigger numbers potentially.
Just like the rotation blocks, and honestly, like contesting perimeter 3-pointers would probably be even more of a thing in that role. So
and like, look, he did that as a rookie when he played with Zach Collins, right?
Yeah.
And played with the big and everything. He might just be like smarter and better now
True.
about like how he navigates those situations.
Yeah.
Like
that's fair.
We saw like if he's going to play in that role, like we've seen Giannis win Defensive Player of the Year awards playing in that role, right?
Sure.
And again, Giannis is like 5 inches shorter with like 6 inches fewer of wingspan than Wembanyama, right? So I think if Wemby stays healthy, it's Wemby is the answer. And I could have made this a category, right? But let's say Victor Wembanyama does not play the required 65 games like he did not last year. Who is your favorite for Defensive Player of the Year outside of that?
So I think I'm going to go Chet, even though Chet isn't the next name on my top defenders list. And I would have went Amin before the Fred VanVleet injury. And it's not necessarily because of what Fred provides defensively and what that will mean for the Rockets in terms of their overall defensive rating and all of that. It's actually something you said recently, where if a man is having to do as much as what we think he may have to do offensively, is he going to be the same level of defender? Because this is still a player in his 3rd year. And if all of a sudden he's taking the bulk of the ball handling and primary initiating for Houston, I'm not sure he's quite the same level of defender. Now, he may just break that rule and have so much energy and athleticism, he still does it. But I think OKC will be a historically good defensive team again. I think Chet's the best defender on that team. And I think those two things combined would probably put Chet over Amin in a true DPOY vote.
I think that that's probably fair. I do worry about if Amin is going to just have to take a slight step back on defense. I had Amin as the best defender in the league last year after Wemby went down. And to me, if Amin's going to have to focus more energy on like initiating the offense and getting things rolling, Ime was pretty clear yesterday, I guess, maybe a couple days ago, that he has like 4 starters right now. It's going to be seemingly Amen, KD, Şengün, and Jabari Smith.
Okay.
And then there's going to be like a wiggle room for the 5th spot, right? And we had mentioned like maybe it's Dorian Finney-Smith, maybe it's Reed Shepherd if he has like a crazy preseason. I guess it could be Tari, but I don't know. But it seems like there's like a real preseason conversation there for them. And I think that where I'm interested in Houston is like their overall length in team defense, especially if they're going to lean into being bigger with Steven Adams. Does that kind of dilute what Amen does? I don't know. I guess is kind of where I'm at.
So I wondered about like the DFS or Tari in the starting lineup, because the argument there could be those guys take the defensive matchups, and maybe Amen isn't the primary defensive guy, but that could also put him in situations where he could be more of a helper off the ball. Maybe he goes and grabs more defensive rebounds because he's not checking the guy that's going to take the shot as much. So it's interesting. For what it's worth, like I still had him. I mean, all of these things, I think I put like the 4 guys I think are most likely to win, and then like some true dark horses. Like I want to be clear that Amin is right there, Mobley's right there, and then I have like some true kind of dark horse names that I don't think people would think about as much. But Amin and Shed, I think, would be my like 1A, my very next 2, no question, if we took Wemby out of the equation.
I think that those are the guys that I would have to. I think Chet's going to just be in for a monster year this year. We have the first time all NBA things.
Yep.
But I think that he was a guy like I had on my list, like in the 5 guys.
Sure.
For like first time all NBA. Like that's just the reality. Like I think that he has a real chance to be that guy.
Yep. 100%.
So I'm going to be really interested to see if they can figure out a way to kind of balance the amend thing more than anything. I mean, one other guy that we're going to talk about a little bit later is there any chance that like Asar gets in this mix here and like goes totally nuts? Is there any chance that, look, we did top 25 defenders in the league, obviously, right? Like Bam Adebayo could be in this mix.
The names I brought up was Tumani, obviously Asar, and Zubats. Like if those teams have to be like, I think those teams would have to be top 3 though for the, like if Detroit's top 3 in defense and everybody will know that Asar's leading that charge, that would be the way he would get in. Or we've talked about Portland maybe really leaning into defense. Like that's actually one whenever we do our units thing that I'm really excited to talk about, because I think they have one of those answers on the defensive side of the ball for, like they could put out a 5-man lineup that can really guard the hell out of people. So those were some of the names. And like, here's the other thing. Like we can't discount Draymond Green, right? If he
That's the other name I was about to bring up. And look, like I've said, the last few months that I thought he was the best defender in the league for the final third of the season last year. I do wonder if he can put it together for a full year, honestly. Like 100%. He is 35 years old. Evan Mobley's a name we haven't brought up. Evan Mobley is, the guy who won Defensive Player of the Year last year, obviously. Yeah. I think Mobley's very much in this conversation as well. I think that he is a name that will continue to, like, he's going to continue to get better and better. Again, I just wonder if like he continues to add more offensively.
Yep.
What he has to do.
That's the jump I'm looking for from him this year, which is something we've talked about.
Yeah. But Draymond was so good late last year after they got Jimmy, and they had like even more defensive infrastructure because, like, say what you will about Jimmy like really gives a shit on defense and plays hard for the most part on that end. Like having another guy there that was able to do that, and then having Horford as well. I don't know. Like there's some real juice there, I think, with Draymond. I don't think I would choose him. Like I think he'll probably be like in the top 5 as opposed to the top, 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
But Dre is pretty sick. I think Mobley is just like totally sick on defense too. So if anybody wants to say Mobley, I'm all for that conversation too. Evan Mobley's a stud. Like you're never gonna.
He was my 4th name for what it's worth. I wrote Wemby, Amin, or Chet, Amin, and then Mobley for what it's worth.
Yep. Okay. So next up, Rookie of the Year.
Oh, okay.
This is another one that I think like the chalk is going to win out for us, right? where Cooper Flagg is.
Sam, I struggled after Cooper and one other name. I did. It was bad.
So we'll talk about that in a second. But why is Cooper Flagg going to win Rookie of the Year?
Because he's awesome and is going to get a ton of usage on a team that's talented. Now, the scary thing is like, I think the more likely case than maybe some guys who get under usage on a good team is like, is there a world where he gets over usage? Or maybe more so, Sam, are you worried at all that he gets used in the wrong way as a rookie that's too much for him in Dallas? Like, do you have any worries that they're going to put the ball in his hands so much that maybe it's inefficient or a bunch of turnovers or the defense isn't as impactful as what we think it can be because he's spending so much time on the ball? Because I keep hearing this, we're going to put the ball in Cooper's hands a lot. We're going to put the ball in Cooper's hands a lot until Kyrie comes back. I think he's going to handle it. But still, as a rookie, that's a huge load in the Western Conference for a team that expects to win that doesn't exactly have like crazy floor spacing, even though it has a great group of like frontline players.
It is more the spacing aspect for me because it's going to be like Cooper with AD and another big out there, like seemingly. It seems like probably Lively early in the year and then Gafford maybe when Gafford comes back, right? So I think that it's probably still Cooper is my answer just because of the usage. Like, I think they are going to put the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
I think they're going to let him rock. I think they're going to let him see what he can do and kind of let him explore the space a little bit. Shout out Bruce Dickinson. But like, I think we're going to see what they can do with Cooper, not necessarily running the show because D'Angelo Russell is there and like D'Angelo likes playing ball screens and is like very capable of being that. But I do wonder if they're seeing Cooper as like, okay, kind of our second side ball handler. We're going to let him kind of rock a little bit and see what he can bring to the table.
Sorry, I had to look up a name that you just said that had nothing to do with basketball. So
you had to look up Bruce Dickinson. Shout out. You shout out Saturday Night Live.
Oh, okay. Is that the cowbell?
It's the cowbell. There you go.
I know that one. That one is hilarious. Yeah, I think as we're about to get to, there's no way I can with like a straight face or clear conscience or whatever you want to say it, bring up a name other than Cooper right now for this.
Okay, so let's ask this question then. What are Cooper's numbers this year?
14, 5, and 2.5, something like that. Is that fair?
Yeah, I was gonna say like 16, 6, and 3.
Okay,
was my read.
So I'm a little low, maybe.
I mean, I might be a little high. Who's to say? But I think Cooper is going to get enough reps to be able to score like 16 a game. He is going to be very good in transition, we know, so he can get a few buckets there. I wonder if the rebounding, like he's a guy that could go get you 8 or 9 rebounds. So
that's easily. I was just like, is he going to get them though? Like, are
totally.
Rebounds to go around? That's why I was lower on the rebounds. Like that's the number I struggled with more than anything.
Yeah, like Lively, I think could very easily, and AD obviously, those guys can just poach rebounds at the end of the day. That's why I was like at 6 as opposed to like 7 or 8 on the rebounding side. I do think he averages over a block and a steal as well.
Sure.
I think that he will get both of those things. He will be like, the thing about Cooper in this situation now is that if he ever does downshift to the 4 next to AD, next to Lively, next to one of those guys, like he is going to be able to play like the roaming playmaker role that he was amazing at in high school, but like didn't do quite as much of at Duke. I mean, here's the other thing too, like someone brought up, you know, he'd be surprised if he averages less than 4 assists. Shout out to Brian. But like, 4 assists is a lot for a rookie. I think he can do it. But I do wonder if like they put the ball in his hands enough to where he is up around 4 assists per game. Like
that's probably true. That's fair.
Possible.
Like, if he's true, that's fair. So I would say I feel good about my rebounding numbers. I probably need to be a touch higher on the points. Just because like you have AD to score the ball. But then, like, who's the other, like, big-time bucket getter without Kyrie. So I think I feel good about the rebounds. I think the points are probably closer to what you said. I think the assists, I think Brian brings up a good point, because what I'm not taking into account is the 1 or 2 he's going to get a game where like Clay just comes off a screen and he makes the pass to the wing and he gets an assist because Clay knocks down a shot off, whatever action, or he throws it to AD on the elbow and AD faces up and knocks down a jumper. So he's probably getting 1 or 2 of those a game, along with maybe 1 or 2 where he creates. So I think we should be closer to your numbers with the points and the assists than my original numbers.
Yeah, I think like 16, 6 and 3 to 4 feels right to me. And if he does that, I think he wins Rookie of the Year. Like, I feel, especially given that he'll be like a pretty solid defender at the very least as a rookie and continue to grow into being like a potential all defense guy. I am very high on Cooper entering the year. But one of my other questions was simply, who is your non-Cooper Flagg Rookie of the Year pick?
Okay, so I went VJ, and part of this is just like I will readily admit is recency bias. I kind of liked how VJ looked in the Sixers game I watched, and so I went there. Obviously, I haven't like watched all of the other guys yet. I struggled, Sam, going through like rookies, because I do think anymore. I guess this isn't always true. I was trying to find rookies that I thought were going to play on decent teams and actually like play. And the freaking Nets and Wizards drafted so many guys that there's not. And then I guess Dylan Harper's the other name here. But so I went with VJ. Who'd you go with? Like, what's your number one name?
I had Trey Johnson is my number one name.
Trey Johnson was my number 2 name.
Yeah, that team is going to need him to score.
Correct.
And on top of it, if you look at just their overall roster outside of, they do have some shooting with their vets, like Middleton and McCollum can definitely both shoot, but a lot of their younger guys like aren't amazing shooters necessarily. So having him like be able to take on more usage, take on the kind of actions off the ball that he didn't really get a chance to run at Texas all that often, but is very, very capable of running. I wonder if we do see like a bit of a Trey Johnson explosion a little bit as a scorer. I think like, look, he's an unbelievable scorer. He averaged almost 20 a game last year at Texas, but maybe even more so from like a counting perspective than what we're expecting. Like, what would it take Trey Johnson, if we think Cooper's going to be up around like 16, 6 and 3, right? For it to be 20. A conversation for people. If he averaged 20, would it be a conversation, do you think, for Rookie of the Year?
Yeah. If it's somewhat efficient, right? Like if it's not like crazy. And I think if Trey Johnson averages 20, it's probably on some sort of efficiency. I think it would take 20 though. If Cooper's playing the role we just outlined, averaging, let's say 16, 6, 3.5 or 4, whatever, I think, and their team is winning in some capacity and the Wizards lose at the level we think they're going to, I think Trey has to be at 20 plus.
Okay. I think that's right. I don't know if he's going to get to 20 as a rookie.
Yeah.
Is where I'm at. I think that he will probably be more around like the 17, 18 mark. Like I think he will average close to as many points as Cooper, if not more. Like if you made me bet on the highest scoring rookie,
sure,
I think Trey Johnson's like a decent bet there.
Yeah, I like that.
I still think just Cooper is going to bring more of a well-rounded effort and will end up winning this award. So Trey would be my pick. It sounds like you had him at number 2.
I did.
Or behind VJ. You had VJ at 1, it sounded like, and then Trey. I'm sorry,
VJ,
Trey at 2.
Yep, VJ, then Trey, and then I wrote down Ace as well. Like it. So here's my question, Sam. Like, do you see a player that is going to be on a good team that really contributes right away? Like I don't know what to do with Dylan Harper with the injury. Like I know it's not like season. Like I know it's like he's going to come back and all of that, but it's going to slow down the start of his season at the very least. like Cedric Coward with the Grizzlies.
That was the name that I was going to bring for what it's worth.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
what if they decide to play a little bit smaller early in the year and they play Cedric a bunch of minutes? Look, they play their young kids. Like, if they're ready to go, they will play them.
Sure.
Right. And what if Cedric is just like ready to go as a shooter and his length is super valuable on defense and he averages like, 13, 3 and 2 and is okay on defense and like shoots 48, 40, 80 or like 83 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's probably a first team all rookie guy for
So
sure.
Yeah.
I just don't think it gets to the Cooper side. You know what I mean?
That's where I was at. Like, to me, he was like, I could see Cedric Coward getting into first team all rookie. I don't see as much like true rookie of the year, and it's just like, again, like with the Spurs, I don't think either of us think Carter Bryant is in like the day one too deep. You have a bunch of guys.
But like, people are asking like, why not Dylan Harper in the comments? And it's just like, well, Dylan's coming into the season with a wrist injury. Wrist or thumb, is it?
Thumb.
I can never remember.
Right?
Or
maybe McCain is the thumb.
Yeah. So that's not great.
No, his is thumb also. Partially torn ligament in his left thumb. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming into the year with an injury for a guy that's like a somewhat questionable shooter, as it is with a thumb injury, probably not starting would be my guess. Probably coming off the bench a little bit more. I think the world of Dylan Harper. I think he's going to be an absolute stud moving forward. And I think he's like absolutely a starter in year 2 for San Antonio. And, everything's going to be amazing for him. I just wonder if the role will be there from day one at the end of the day.
So, but there's a Fox. What's Fox's injury?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was it was not serious enough to me even warrant writing it down, but he does have a hamstring injury.
Okay.
Hamstring. That will be due to start the year.
Okay. So I just listen, Harper obviously should be in the conversation as well. I'm just I'm nervous about the role, and maybe I'm over indexing the thumb injury on his shooting hand and stuff like that. Like, that stuff always makes me a little nervous. And a rookie missing training camp, like, I realize he's going to be back potentially for the start of the year. Maybe he doesn't miss any games, but just missing what seems like a very important portion of a rookie's, integration into the NBA seems important to me, or, meaningful. And I'm interested to see what the jumper looks like coming out of this and all of that. But yeah, he obviously should be mentioned.
Yeah, and like is worthy of it and is going to be an unbelievable player long term. It's just I always get hesitant with rookies coming in with injuries. It's kind of the reality for me. Like there's just such a learning curve in like training camp and everything that I just think it's a little bit trickier than that. Okay, before we move on, we got to shout out our friends over at Prizepicks. This episode is brought to you by Prizepicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prizepicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prizepicks, where it's good to be right. Bryce, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs tomorrow night.
Don't ask.
You're ready.
Sure.
You're here. Yep. You're positive on the Kansas City Chiefs. We're just taking a look at the app here. It's beautiful. We've got so many options in terms of what we can take. I love Pat Mahomes over 1.5 TDs, and I love Pat Mahomes probably over 19.5, or was it 19.5, or is it 23.5 pass completions? Like, to me,
they can't run, so take whatever overs on pass attempts and completions that you can.
Yeah, like 36 pass attempts, 23.5 pass completions. I like completions because I think he's just going to be very efficient. So I like the lower number, but 1.5 touchdowns, 23.5 pass completions there. And then really all Jacksonville's been capable of doing is Travis Etienne so far. And I like over 11.5 receiving yards for Travis Etienne. So you double dip Mahomes, you get ETN. That feels like a winner to me, Bryce. Like, I'm ready. I think we're locking in. Chiefs
Love
win.
it.
That's the most important thing for you is you get a Chiefs win.
That's all I care about. We need it.
Look, Prizepicks, it's the absolute best place to win real money with sports. I know that right now the WNBA is up there. We got the finals. The Aces are there. It is an incredibly fun and simple experience. If you wanted to go tonight, Josh Allen, I think his number is like pretty reasonable. Drake May, I think is like 229.5. It's just very, very easy to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. We went with 3 with Mahomes in terms of pass completions, in terms of touchdowns, and then with ETN over receiving yards. You can play Prizepicks to get action on football in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Prizepicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup, like we did in our pick. You can follow other Prizepick players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prizepicks. Download the Prizepicks app today and use the code Game Theory to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Game Theory to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, it's good to be right. Okay. Next up after Rookie of the Year is Most Improved Player. Who is your selection here for Most Improved Player, Bryce?
Okay, so here's my thing. I was going to go a completely different way. And then I asked this of you, Sam Vecenie. Of the last 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, like 14 6-minute or most improved players, how many of them did not average 20 points per game?
That's a great question.
Last
I would
12,
imagine most of them did. Like
correct.
11?
10
So
of
11
the
of them did. Yeah.
10 of the 12 did average at least 20 points per game in the season that they won most improved player. Dyson Daniels last year.
Yeah.
And the other name was actually Pascal Siakam when he won it in 2019. So like I just started looking at the names: Tyrese Maxey, Lauri Markkanen, Ja, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Oladipo, Giannis, CJ McCollum, Jimmy Butler. And I'm just like, okay, some of the names I initially had, I don't think are the ones that are going to do it. So I just went Jalen Johnson, and I realized like he's already like broke out and like had a huge year and all of that. I just, to me, he was like the most obvious, like he's going to average 22, 10, and 5 and be available for the award. And I'm not necessarily going to agree with it, but I just wonder if the voters still are going to give it to him coming off an injury.
I think it's pretty possible. Like, I think that's a good read on what this award is now.
I don't like it. I want to be clear, Sam. I don't like it, but I just wonder if that's the way it would play out.
Yeah, like you look at the betting odds right now, and it's really interesting to your point about like 20 points per game, right? The favorites right now are Amen Thompson, Andrew Nembhard, Denny Avdia, Asar Thompson, Modest, Shaden Sharp, Ben Mathurin, Jaden Ivey, Josh Giddey. For some reason, Michael Porter Jr. is on this list. Aaron Naismith, Cam Whitmore, Derek White, and then Jalen Johnson is all the way at 35-1, by the way. That's a pretty good number, to be honest, for what he's going to provide for the Atlanta
maybe
Hawks.
I'm wrong here. Like maybe it just, I want to be clear. I was not going to go this way. I was going to mention names like Asar Thompson, Tamani Kamara, Andrew Nembhard. And then I looked it up and I'm like, well, I don't think any of those guys are going to average 20 a game. I mean, Nembhard maybe actually. So I went a different path.
I don't think you're wrong about that. I mean, like, I see here Chet Holmgren is 45-1 to win this award. like if Chet takes the leap and averages 20 points a game, like he might be that guy.
And wins
Right?
DPOY. I mean, listen, people wanted it to be Cade. Did Cade get votes last year?
That's a good question. I think he did, to be honest. Let's see, most improved player award voting. So awards voting, most improved. Let's see here.
Yeah,
Cade finished third last year.
So this is my point. Like, and that is Cade. Listen, I realize that for most people, like, I understand with Cade, but the year before he played 62 games, Sam, and averaged 23, 4, 7.5. Now I realize the team sucked and all of that, but like to me, like people vote for those type of guys still. I guess it's worth noting a lot of the other names on this list weren't 20 a game scorers. Christian Brown finished 4th. Did Mobley? He didn't end up at 20.
Zubats finished second. Zubats was at 16.8. Christian Brown 15.4. Dyson Daniels 14.1.
Mobley at 18.5. So
yep. Amen Thompson 14.1. Denny at 17 a game. Austin Reeves was at 20 last year. Tyler Hero was at 24 last year, and then Giddey was at 14.6. That's your top 10. It's just kind of crazy to me the way that this voting goes on this award, but maybe we're seeing a change. Like maybe that's the key here. Maybe like voters in some way, shape, or form are seeing this differently. And I kind of went with the Dyson Daniels route this year and went with Asar Thompson.
Love it. Yeah.
And what if Asar Thompson playing 30 minutes a night? Because we just like know that Asar is going to get more minutes this year, just artificially, because he's farther off of the blood clotting issue. And he was so limited in terms of minutes last year, like playing only 22 a night. If he's up at 30, he might average like 16, 9 rebounds, 8 rebounds or something, and 4 assists, and then be like an all defense guy. And that would be like a pretty good case, right? Someone brought up like Amen Thompson, who is higher on the odds list than what Asar is. And I wonder, honestly, like in terms of improvement, like taking the leap in terms of your counting numbers, right? I would guess that Asar's counting numbers will go up by more than what Amen's will, just because Amen is, already coming from a better place. You know what I mean?
No, and I felt like, coming out of media day, just some of the quotes and stuff, it seems like I think they're really going to lean into, Asar playing disruptive, them playing fast with Asar on the floor and all of that. Like I do think we're going to see that from Detroit. So he was on my list. Again, once I have my list of 4 guys who I think can average 20 points a game and would meet that criteria. And then Asar was my first name of like, okay, the 3 names I really wanted to say was Asar, Toumani Camara, and then Andrew Nembhard. And maybe not even in that order. Maybe it'd be Asar, Nembhard, and then Camara. But
these are just Sam and Bryce picks.
That's fair. It's just another.
It's not like what this award has become. This is now just Sam and Bryce picks for like the guys that we think are breakout.
So like essentially this whole list is guys that I just like. I love Jalen Johnson. I had Denny Avdia on here. I was going to use it to push my Brandon Miller, narrative. And then these other 3
Brandon
guys
might be a good pick here, by the way. I think Brandon's like a pretty live pick here for sure.
So
because he missed a lot of time last year.
Yep. He only played 27
I think they're going to be, I think they're going to be better. I think they're going to be more competent. It's just all about with him, like the strength, right? Like does the strength catch up at some point? The guy I had second on my list is Shaedon Sharpe, and I know that he averaged 18.5 last year. It's just that the way that people are talking about him in Portland, like at media days and things like that, they are really excited. And I think if you polled the 100 media members that vote for like most improved, I think that under 40% of them would understand that Shaedon averaged 18.5 last year.
Yeah.
I think that they would be like, oh yeah, he probably averaged like 13 or 14 last year. And like wouldn't understand that he already, has been scoring at that level. So I wonder if I kind of think Shaden is the guy that would be like, it's interesting to me that Denny is the guy like on the odds. Shaden's close to him, don't get me wrong, but like it is interesting to me that Denny is the guy on the odds, whereas Shaden is the guy that I think would be most likely there.
And this is a team that lost their 19-point a game scorer in Anthony Simons, lost their 14.5 per game score in DeAndre Ayton. And like, I have no idea what Jeremy Grant's role is even going to be anyway. And, replaced it with, Damian Lillard, like Donovan Clingan, who's not a high volume scorer, Damian Lillard, who's not going to play, Drew Holiday, who's like not like a big time scorer at this point in his career, even though he's a good defender. Point being, while I love that team defensively, that team is going to need somebody to get buckets. And while I think Denny, that's another reason why I think Denny could, potentially average 20 a game this year. I think Shaden is probably the better bet to average 20 if they really let him loose.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the funniest thing to see. Like, it'd be hilarious if Shaden ups his scoring by 1.5 points per game, averages 20 and wins. That would be like genuinely really funny, and I can see it.
Yeah,
I have no faith in this award, to be honest with you. Okay,
award for what it's worth.
Sixth man of the year.
Yep.
Who did you go with?
Nah, it's always nah for me. I always want to. I'm always a chance to pitch Gilgeous-Alexander Walker, so I went with him. I think it. So I'm saying on my Atlanta. Well, I'm just staying on my Atlanta narrative and push. It's going to come up some more throughout the end of this episode. I just think he fits in really good there. I think that team is going to need. I know Jalen Johnson can play with the ball and, create and do some of that. I think Na's going to get a chance to do that in non-Trey minutes. I think he fits in perfectly, the defense, all of that. I just think he's really good. So he gets out of the shadow of Naz Reid in the second unit in Minnesota. And I think he will be, a guy that gets a lot of love if that team wins as many games is what I think they're going to.
My pick is Ty Jerome.
Okay.
I think that especially earlier in the year with Memphis, with some of the injuries, even though their guards are relatively healthy right now, I would guess that he's going to get some real runway to be able to create some offense here for this team. And we've seen, in the past, the guys that back up Ja Morant, they end up starting, maybe 20 games first and foremost. But then also, like, we've seen Tyus Jones, for instance, end up really significantly in this conversation for sixth man of the year. Like, he ended up finishing 6th in 2023, 11th in 2022. I thought he should have finished higher than 6th in 2023, honestly. But we've just seen these guys end up in this conversation that back up Ja Morant because they get the boost from starting some games here and there when Ja is out. But they also, prioritize Ty in the offseason to go sign him in order to play this role and to be able to play as the guy that can kind of, lift their bench units. And they have enough depth to be able to like really surround Ty with spacing and everything to be successful for him as well.
My second name was Josh Hart.
It's a great name. Like, if he does end up not starting because they go with Mitch, like, that's an amazing name, I think.
I mean, my vibe right now is that they're going to start Mitch and they're going to go with Mitch and Cat, and Hart's going to come off the bench. So I felt pretty comfortable at least throwing this one out.
I mean, look, if they're going to do that, I think Josh should probably be the favorite, to be honest. And you're absolutely right. Like, it seems like they're going to do that. Like, it's, they ended up starting both of those guys, but they also started Dadier.
Yeah.
Whether or not that was like trade showcase or they just wanted to like see what Dadier could do.
I almost know. I felt a little bit more like that gave me more confidence because they started the other 4. OG was out, and instead of putting Josh Hart in there, they put Dadier. And we've seen NBA coaches like to do that, as opposed to taking your 6th man and making him a starter. You take your 11th man, start him, and keep your 6th man as the 6th man. Listen, it's still preseason. Most of it's just like listening to Knicks people talk and reading articles and the conversation around it. I just think that they're going to lean into it. Now, here's the counter. Are they going to stay into it when Mitchell Robinson gets hurt? And, are they going to start, Ariel Hookporty with Karl Anthony Towns or whatever to keep Josh Hart on the bench. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think he's a fun name right now.
It's a good name. It's a really good name. Next up, executive of the year.
Hold on. Can we go back to 6 man of the year real quick? Who are the Clippers going to start? Harden, Beal, Zubats. Let's just say Kawhi. Let's say, who's the fifth starter? Because I wanted to say John Collins, and then I couldn't get John Collins. Like, I'm like, are they going to go with Chris Dunn for the defense still?
Yeah.
Or are they just going to start? Because I thought Collins was a fun name, and then I realized there's probably a better chance of him starting too many games than what I realized. So,
yeah, I think it's a question. So I didn't feel great about listing Collins for what it's worth, but maybe he doesn't. Who knows?
No, we can
executive of the year.
I went Ansi Sala, so I'm staying.
A great name.
I'm staying with it. I'm staying with my Atlanta thing here.
So why did you go with Sala?
I like what they did. We've reiterated this point so many times. If you're gonna have a season built around Trae Young, then let's lean into it and let's build that roster as best as we can to help him win. They also, I hate using this term, so I'm not going to use it. Most people would say they had the biggest steal of a trade this offseason, that they had the biggest winner or whatever. They were on the positive side of the most lopsided trade of the offseason. Listen, you can put that on the other side as much as you want. They answered the phone and made the decision. And so I'm not going to take that away from them. So they built a roster that I think makes a ton of sense around their star player. And they secured real draft capital that has real value. That here's the other thing, Sam. I think they're sneaky. Hey, we're a top 2 team in the East. We want to go compete at the highest level against the West. We have the ammunition to do so if we really want to go all in and move any of this stuff to add another piece that we think puts us over the top. So I just think it was a great offseason for them.
So the first name that immediately came to mind was, what if they just start giving this award to Sam Presti year over year?
So that's what's unfair. It's so unfair to Presti because he should be the first name. You're right.
Gosh, so he won last year. So I'm thinking they probably won't do it again.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it's warranted with how he's built this roster so methodically, I'm assuming that they aren't going to give it to him again. I just wanted to note that I think Sam is the best executive currently working in the NBA.
Sure.
But because they were so quiet this offseason, I would guess that he's probably not going to get it.
Even though he should get credit for the extensions he did and getting the percentages lower than, what could have happened. He still did work that was on the margins that is going to be important down the road. Just
to honestly, probably the most important thing that any team could have done, because now they get to keep their core together for longer. Correct. And continue to build, and be a 55 win team for the next 5 years. Right. So the two guys that immediately came to mind for me were Jeff Weltman with Orlando. He's going to get Desmond Bane. If we think that they're going to take a massive leap here this year, just with Bane finally fixing the offense a little bit, I wonder if Weltman really gets some love. And it would be rightful. He's done a great job evaluating with that scouting staff, going and getting, obviously taking Paulo was not a consensus decision at number 1 necessarily. Going to get Franz, Jalen Suggs has obviously worked out well so far. I think that's a pretty good name on top of going to get Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones, some of these other guys this offseason. Having done the Nikola Vucevic deal years ago that is still paying dividends with Franz Wagner, with Wendell Carter, but also he has the big thing that he can point to this year with Desmond Bane, obviously, as well. The second was Houston. Houston did a ton this offseason.
Yeah.
Rafael Stone, I think, could end up in this conversation. Going to get Kevin Durant is obviously massive. And if they did so much that they're able to overcome the Fred VanVleet injury, that would give him a real case to me. If he was to win, or if Houston's to win 55 games or whatever this year, which I think is very plausible given how good Kevin Durant is, doing the Kevin Durant deal, I think is pretty good for them. And
That's a good name.
continuing to grow with these younger guys that they have on this team.
It's a great name. I had Sala, I had Weltman too, and then I had Ben Tinzer. So I should have had a Stone as well in the mix. But we've talked a lot about, them building a roster with depth around Jokic for maybe the most that we've seen. That obviously, goes to the front office. And, so I had Tinzer here also.
Okay. Next up. First time all NBA players. As I mentioned at the start of the show, every year since 2003, 2004, there have been at least 2 first time all NBA players. Who are your picks to achieve that goal this year, Bryce?
Paolo Banchero and Victor Wembanyama.
Those were also my 2 picks. We've talked about those guys extensively this summer. I don't know. And we've talked about particularly Wemby extensively on this show already. Offensively, I think he might just be ready to take another leap. I would expect Victor Wembanyama is at least a second team all NBA player this year is the reality. With Paulo, to me, it's all about the spacing. We've kind of mentioned it throughout the show as well, but him having space to weaponize his ability to create mismatches, being as fluid as he is, but also as powerful as he is, if he can get all the way to the rim more consistently, which I think he's going to be able to this year, I think you will see the scoring efficiency spike in the way that I think everybody wants to see it spike.
Yep. No, I mean, I just think those were easily the first 2 names that came up, but I have some other fun names that I like as well.
Okay. Give me 2 of those names, please.
So I like, I put Tyrese Maxey here. I thought he looked.
Ooh.
Yeah. I thought he my worry with Maxey is them not winning enough games. But like, I think if the injuries are crazy and he still gets them, maybe the top end of the play, like the East is bad enough. I just thought he looked awesome. Like he looks like super healthy. He's so fast. Nobody can stay in front of him. We know we can put up big numbers. So I had him, and then I'll throw out a few other names and then you go where you want. I'm going to stay on the Jalen Johnson hype train. Again, I think the Hawks could be good. You mentioned Chet earlier as part of this. And then I also had Alperen Şengün and Scotty Barnes.
So I have Şengün as my 3rd. I have Chet as my 4th.
Okay.
And then one guy we haven't brought up is Zion Williamson has never made all NBA.
That's interesting. So,
and I'm just telling you guys, based off what I saw in Melbourne in terms of what kind of shape he's in, I think if he plays 65 games, he's one of the 15 best players in the league.
2 all-stars, but not okay. So the one year
he not made all NBA yet.
Okay. His second year, he averaged 27. Okay. So keep going, because I want to look up and see.
Yeah, genuinely, I have no idea how he didn't make all NBA in 2021.
Yeah.
He averaged 27 points, 7 rebounds.
Because those rules weren't in play then.
Yeah, and he played 61 out of 72. Like it was only a 72 game year, not an 82 game year that season as well. So
they have the full voting. Sam, he wasn't even. So there's the 3 teams. Tatum was the first guy out. Russ was the second guy out. Harden was the third. Zion was 4th guy out that year.
Who was in?
So Giannis, Jokic, Curry, Doncic, Kawhi, first team. Dame, Embiid, Chris Paul, Julius Randle, LeBron, second team. Gobert, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving, third team.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big Beal scoring year, but I would venture that people would probably take that one back if they could. But it could be just Tatum at the end of the day that they would put on. Yeah, look, like if Zion, I'm telling you, if Zion plays 65 games this year, he's one of the 15 best players in the league, statistically at least. I don't know if they'll win enough games. Like they just might not, and people might ding him for that. But I mean, he's going to average like 27, 8, and 5 or whatever if they win, or if he plays 65.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is the other thing that's important too from Josh. They had positional voting still back then.
Yeah.
He was at the forward spot. Was the issue.
Yes.
That's why Beal made it ahead of him.
I was like, man, I'm on it. Like I realized Gobert defensively, but I'm like, I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, this is fun because, okay, this year, Sam, was this a shortened season? We didn't play 82 this year, did we?
The 2021 year?
Yeah.
2021 was 72 games.
Yeah. Never mind. I can't do it then. I was like, man, there's some low games played for 80, but yeah, we're still at 72.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And then 2024, like the year he played 70 games, he just wasn't good enough, frankly, to make All NBA that year. But I'm just saying again, like what I saw in Melbourne in person, like that dude is as in shape as he has been since he was at Duke. And when Zion is in shape, there is no player who is just outside of Giannis that is as physically dominant. Look, he might get hurt. Like, YouTube users, like, I have no idea why people are all of a sudden thinking Zion won't be hurt. I think that what we've just wanted for so many years is Zion to like take this seriously and really just go for it and like get cut and like a little bit more lean and like put less stress on his joints, right? And he looks that way right now. Maybe he just, has done damage at this point to his joints, and that will hinder him moving forward. It's not impossible, right? But like, I don't know. I'd rather be optimistic on it, I guess, than just assume that he's going to be done. And, look, like the guy just turned 25 in July. Like he's still got so much time to be able to figure this out. I don't know. Like, I'm telling you, just based off of what I saw, I thought he looked awesome in Melbourne, just physically and in terms of the way he was moving. It was really impressive.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. The talent is undeniable.
Our final category today: best player traded in season this year.
Okay, so Lowry's like the cheat code one here. So I'll throw out some other names.
My take, by the way, is still that he does not get traded.
Okay.
I think that's like the surprising take that people would, think is weird. But yeah, I think he just does not get traded this year is my take.
So other names I have is Jaden Ivey, Domantas Sabonis, Anthony Simons, Zach LaVine, and then a couple interesting ones just based on contracts that I'm curious about. What does Chicago do with Kobe White? And then what does Miami do with Tyler Hero? And so
that's all about like if he does the extension or not.
Yeah.
If they find a, number.
Yeah. So those are some of the names I came up with.
I think this is going to be a little bit of a quieter deadline than what it's been recently. The two names that I thought of for this were, my aggressive name was Domantas Sabonis if the Kings like kind of fall off a little bit and it becomes a problem for them. Look, like I think that if they are not very good, this would be the time to try to cash in on Sabonis. Whether or not they do that, I don't know at this stage. I haven't really gotten a ton of Sabonis stuff from people league-wide, is what I would say. But the name I came up with was, again, saying that it's going to be a little bit quieter, was Wiggins. And part of it is that I think Wiggins like actually could swing a title picture depending on who gets him. Like if the Lakers get Wiggins and they have like a 3-and-D wing who can create a shot a little bit here and there, and you go into the playoffs with LeBron, Wiggins, Luka, Reeves, Ayton, Laravia, Smart, and Rui, and those guys, like that's actually like a pretty difficult team to deal with, I think.
Yeah.
If the Warriors were to move Kuminga for Wiggins again, and you get like the shooter spacer into the lineup with Curry, Draymond, Butler, and Horford, that's like a pretty dangerous team immediately, in my opinion. Like I actually wonder if Wiggins is the name that like could swing the picture a little bit more than what people would anticipate, just given the fact that he is a shooter, he's become a really good defender, like all of those things. We've seen him play a big role on title teams before, and I wonder if he's the guy that could do it this time too.
Yeah, and because of the contract, I feel like he's gotten a little bit underrated now. This is a guy that had a bounce back season, average 18, shooting 37% from three, rebounds a little bit. Like you said, can self-create a little bit, defends. He had the really rough year in Golden State, and in the year he didn't play a whole lot of games, but I feel like, again, last year a really bounce back season. And yeah, the contract may be more than what you get or whatever. Like, I get that, but this is a really good wing, offense to defense wing that are really hard to come by in this league.
And the reason I think Miami probably would look to move him at some point is that they can get way more flexible if they get off of his player option for next year. You could do like Kleba and Gabe Vincent. That gets you close on the money. It probably doesn't get you totally there, so you'd have to add someone else in for Wiggins, and you'd remove 30 million from their books. You could do like Kuminga and something for Wiggins, and you get 30 million off their books, or they could keep Kuminga if they really like the bet on him, right? So, not including first round picks, anything like that, just like kind of trying to come up with ideas. I mean, the other name I came up with was like, would the Pistons look at this? Like, if they're in the middle of if they're the 3 seed in the West or in the East, I'm sorry, and they're worried about re-signing Tobias Harris, could you decide we'll move Harris in a first for Wiggins or something like that, and then you get off Miami gets off the Harris money next year because he's an expiring, and then they get the extra asset. Like, is there something there that could work?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be, my worry is for them, like, you're just really small at the 4, but if like Asar, like if you feel like you can play between Asar, Holland, Wiggins, like there's just enough length and athleticism to match up. It just, against any sort of too big lineup, Tobias plays a really important role for that team, but I understand the idea.
It's a good call. It's a really important point too. I think that Wiggins will be like a sought after player is what I would say though. And like, I feel quite confident that he probably, I don't want to say probably because like, I don't know where Miami is at this point. They're just all over the map in terms of what their contention window is, it feels like, but Wiggins feels like a good name to me that could actually like really swing some things if he was to get to the right spot.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Levine, I guess in theory could, but like
Sure.
Levine's deal is massive, right? Like it's way bigger than even Wiggins is. Same with Sabonis's. That's why like it was a little bit trickier for me to like figure out the Sabonis thing. I mean, I guess like, I have no idea what the Pelicans are thinking with Zion or what they're doing, but my read is that they're not moving him at this point. Same with Trey Murphy. I don't think they're moving him. Herb Jones did his extension, so they're not moving him. I mean, anybody else that like immediately stands out?
No, like I said, those were the kind of the names I came up with.
I mean, like, is there a chance the Sixers like try to blow it up if they're bad?
Sure. I mean, I think there's a chance. It's just like
the problem is if they're bad because they're hurt.
And then it's hard
and
to
who's
trade.
who's gonna take the deals at that point?
I mean, like, I think Vooch is another name. Like, that's not, I mean, we're not back to like the not big names.
Yeah. And like, it's a hard conversation to have at this time of year. Like, even among the stars, like, I mean, Portland just has a lot of bodies, right? Like, someone brought up Austin Reeves. Look, I guess that Austin Reeves like could be a name here that could move for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's about to be if they for whatever reason, if the vibe is it's not working, or they don't want to pay him, or they don't think he's going to come, whatever, like he's essentially an unrestricted free agent next year with the player option. So, whatever the scenario is, I guess it's a fair name to bring up.
Yeah, and then Anthony Simons as well.
I mentioned Simons. I think I went through my list quick, but he definitely was a name I at least meant to mention if I didn't drop the name. Sorry.
Yeah, and he's an expiring, so that's another one where they could get off of money, like a team could get off of money a little bit easily. So, okay, Bryce.
Nope. We were supposed to do Coach of the Year.
Oh, we haven't done Coach of the Year yet. I missed Coach of the Year.
Yep.
Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, who's your Coach of the Year?
Sticking with the Atlanta narrative, I went with Quinn Snyder.
I have Quinn on my board for what it's worth. Why did you go with Quinn?
I mean, I'm just repeating myself now. Like, the season needs to start so I can either look really smart or really dumb. I just think Atlanta has a nice roster. I think they're going to win a lot of games. I have them 4 in the East with the potential to finish higher. I will also say Jamal Mosley was my number 2 because I think, Orlando is going to win a lot of games as well. And I think he does a good job.
So, I mean, look, my name is going to annoy people to no end.
Dag no.
That's literally who it is.
Yeah.
I think that he's probably the best coach in the league right now. And I get it that like, oh, they're not going to win a drastically number higher games than what their over under is or whatever. Right. But I think he's the best coach in the league. And, why wouldn't I pick him for this? Right. If you made me go with like the guys that are going to exceed expectations, which is what this award often turns into. Right. I kind of am looking at a few like swing teams, right, that could go one way or another.
Sure.
Like if Boston
I had Missoula
like 45 games, Missoula is an interesting one.
I had him and Carlisle on my longer list.
Carlisle is a great name for this. That's another name I had. Like to me, it's just like, who are the swing teams that could really go one direction or another, right? Like Sacramento, I guess in theory, but like I wasn't like wildly impressed. Jason Kidd with Dallas, like if Dallas ends up like pretty okay, that could be a name. The other big one I had though was, what if Memphis is like good? I think Isalo would have like a pretty interesting case as well, given what they've lost, given the injuries they've dealt with, everything.
Can I throw one at you that you was a surprise team for you? Darko?
Yeah, please. Darko, yeah. I mean, that's another one for sure. I think Darko could 100% be in the mix. Like if they defend well, I think there's like a real case of it, real chance of it.
The other one I'm going to throw out, because I don't homer very often on the podcast. I do occasionally. JB had a real argument last year. And I think if Detroit like finished top 4 or something like that, this isn't how the award should work, but I think there could be a 2-year kind of award for JB, right? Like, okay, he improved them how many ever games last season, and then they came back and took another jump. Yeah. They're top 4 in the East, and he gets it because of that or something like that. So,
yeah, it's not crazy. Look, this Coach of the Year is always a weird one.
Yeah.
Just because, it's hard to pick. Okay. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
At Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Motor City Hoops Substack. We'll start coming out with content as soon as Monday night, most likely Tuesday morning, with a recap of the Pistons' first preseason game. I honestly don't even know who they play. But if your team plays the Pistons, go check out the Substack, and I will have game notes over that, not only for Detroit, but your favorite team. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Game Theory Substack with great content, not only from the Sam Vecenie, but myself as well. And the Pistons Pulse podcast, otherwise Game Theory podcast, right here with the Sam Vecenie. I know GMAC is here with us now. GMAC, we talked a lot about the Knicks on this episode. Actually, we only talked about Josh Hart. No, we talked about Jalen Brunson a little bit.
Shout out to GMAC, who will be absolutely doing yeoman's work here, doing the back end production of this thing.
My wife wants to come say hello on our anniversary. Okay, now she's getting shy. Raleigh wants to say hello.
She looks exactly like me.
Yeah, that's a miniature version of my wife. So
there we go. I love it. It's so nice. I had to yell at Bryce to start for podcasting on his anniversary, and now we get a very lovely
we get the
family image here at the end. Shout out to the sponsors, Mizzen Main and Prizepicks. Shout out to the Substack. Go subscribe. It is the best way to support the Game Theory podcast, the Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. Go hit the subscribe button. Again, you're going to just get all of the absolute best video breakdowns that you're going to find on the internet for players. We've already got ones on Dash Daniels, Karim Lopez, AJ DeBanza. Tomorrow we will have Michael Brown up there. Please go subscribe to that thing. Again, it's like $6 a month. It's a fantastic. I think we're putting together like a real product there. And I think that what we're really trying to do is by the end of the year have built up just like this absolutely incredible database of video breakdowns for people to be able to do come draft time, particularly, so that like there's going to be no better coverage. There's going to be so much on there for you to be able to sort through come draft time, to where it's just going to be so valuable for everybody. But you can get it all throughout the year, and you don't want to have to kind of come through at the end and watch the many hours of content that we're going to have up there. So go hit the subscribe button now. Again, it's just the best way to support the show. We appreciate everyone that subscribed over on YouTube as well. We're up over 75,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you all for coming to hang out. Thank you all for listening to the show. We will be back on Thursday with more. Whether or not there'll be team-based predictions, whether or not they will be some preseason observations, because we might actually have some preseason games to watch by then. We will see. But thank you all for coming. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. Until next time, we'll talk soon.